Hey everybody. This weekend I started to talk about courage, responsibility, and fault. And I just wanted to take a few minutes to kind of flush through that because I think that this is really important information that a lot of people may benefit from. So let's talk about it. Let's first talk about fault and responsibility, right? And let me give you an example of that. Like in my case, it's not my fault that my husband passed away 5 years ago, but it is my responsibility to take those traumas and that pain and work through it. It is my responsibility to take a very, very painful time in my life and figure out how to work through it because I have a family that I need to take care of, that I'm responsible for, right? It's not your fault if your husband or your wife cheated on you, for example, but it is your responsibility to take that pain and work through it. To take that pain and figure out how can you become better as a result of something that happened, right? Because really the events that happen in this life we have very little control of, but we have to be responsible for the or take responsibility for the next steps, the things that we do after a bad event or a negative event or a traumatic event. We are responsible for the next steps and becoming better as a result of something really, really bad happening, right? So that is the difference between fault and responsibility. We alone are responsible for our happiness. Nobody else is responsible for our happiness. We control that. It's up to us to make decisions that are in our own best interest, to self love, right? And part of that is to be responsible after a traumatic event has happened. What are the next steps to make sure that you become better than the person that you were prior to that traumatic experience, right? But you can't have responsibility. You can't be responsible. You can't have responsibility if you don't have courage. Courage, Maya Angelou says, is the greatest of all virtues because it's impossible to practice any other virtue consistently without courage, right? But, it's really, really tough to be courageous, right? So, even Nelson Mandela said that courage is not the absence of fear, but it's the triumph over fear, right? And so I looked it up. I wanted to know what is the actual dictionary definition of courage. And it blew my mind because when you actually look up courage, according to the dictionary, courage is actually defined as the quality of spirit when you're going through really, really dark days or hard times or going through fear or anger. It's the quality of your spirit to go through those really, really, really hard things, right? So that is what courage is. So why do you need to be courageous to be responsible? Because it goes hand in hand, right? You need courage to take risks. You need courage to love. You need courage to forgive, right? Forgiveness is really important because when you don't forgive, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die, right? So that's why it really does take courage to forgive because sometimes it's really, really hard, but you have to think about it in context that you have to have the courage to forgive because ultimately it's about your happiness, it's about your life, right? And so when you think about courage, to me, especially as a business entrepreneur, it takes courage to walk away sometimes from business opportunities that are really lucrative. It takes courage to stand up for your team. It takes courage to have those really uncomfortable conversations that we don't want to have. It takes courage to be able to pick up the phone and make sales calls when you don't feel like it. It takes courage to be able to walk into doors that terrify you, right? It takes courage to walk through and go through fear. It takes courage. But when you look at it in the grand scheme, right? So you have courage and you have responsibility. And how do you put this all together in a way that really makes sense and is practical? And what I you know what I kind of, the way I kind of think about it, at least, is that especially as an entrepreneur, right? So in order for me to be responsible and to have courage, I also need to have resilience, and I also need to have the ability to persevere. Angela Duckworth defines grit as passion and perseverance for long term goals. So when we think about success, oftentimes we think about success in the context of money, right? But success is actually the quality of your soul. So as you are progressing in your careers or in your businesses, are you making decisions that improve the quality of your soul, who you are as a person? Are you becoming better, because of the decisions that you make? And so I want to encourage you today is to have courage. Have courage to do the things that you know are right, but may scare you a little bit. Have courage to confront your fears and go past those. Have courage to love and have courage to forgive. I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye bye.